Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to the Cardfight Empire channel. Today is Monday the 15th. We are 2 to 3 days away from Worlds, or away from heading out to Worlds, where I'll be on a plane for 12 hours, 14 hours, something like that. So yeah, we're pretty hyped. We're not excited about that plane ride, unfortunately, but it's the only way to get there. So yeah, so we're pretty hyped about that. We're trying to pump out as many videos before Worlds as possible so that we could possibly catch up to a little bit closer to where we're supposed to be caught up on the channel, since I had like technical difficulties for like a long time. We're trying to pump out all these videos now. So yeah, today we're going to be having the FutureFight, starting the Rondo of Chaos and Harmony set. Is that what it's called? I forgot what this set is actually called, but it's like Rondo and Chaos or something like that. And so we're starting that, the Link Joker set today. We're going to be talking about the Messiah deck. So the new Messiah deck, let's get right into that. I'm going to flip our G-Zone here as usual. Alright, and then let's get right into the deck. So we run 7 grade 3s in this deck. 4 of the new Neo Messiah, which is Alter Ego Neo Messiah, or the new Alter Ego, I should say. So what Alter Ego Neo Messiah does is it is the new grade 3 Messiah that comes out of the trial deck. It is absolutely amazing in comparison to the old one, in my opinion. It does so much for the deck, and you can do so much with it. So much so that you just prefer to be on this Messiah all the time instead of Alter Ego. Like, the old stride doesn't even matter. We still run it, and we can still ride it as our backup, but like, it's not preferred at all. So it has 2 abilities. The first one is Auto Skill. When your Messiah G unit strides on top of this unit, choose up to 1 card from your hand. So you can choose if you want to call a card or not. So you choose up to 1 card from your hand, call it to rearguard circle, and then you choose up to 1 of all rearguards, all players' rearguards, and lock them. So what this means is that you don't have to indefinitely lock like you used to. The old Messiah just said lock 1 on your side, lock 1 on their side. Also, you had to have a rearguard already, so if you were fighting a deck that was control, the Messiah matchup was really bad for Messiah, because if they clear your board, it's kind of like Luard, where you rely on getting your locks off or starting your locks off by doing your stride skill. So I'm really happy that they got this. I don't play Messiahs personally, but I'm really happy that they got this because it seems fair to them, so that they can fight back against control equally. So this can call a card to the rear guard before they do the lock skill, but even so, you don't have to lock both units. You can just lock one of your opponents. So you can literally just stride, not call anything from hand, not lock one of your cards, but you can still lock one of their cards. So this card is pretty amazing. And then the Generation Break 2 of this card is on the Vanguard Generation Break 2. At the end of your turn, if a locked card was unlocked this turn due to an effect from one of your cards, you can Soul Blast 1 and draw 2 cards. So the old Messiah makes you Soul Blast for every time a card is unlocked and you draw a card. So this card lets you, it's like a medium in between there, where you can't draw like 3 for 3 soul or something crazy like the old one could, but you can just Soul Blast 1 and draw 2 cards, which at the end is a lot more efficient with your resources, like your soul. The old Alter Ego Messiah got a reprint and a new art, but it's still the same effect. Generation Break 2, when a card is unlocked, you can Soul Blast 1 to draw a card, and then on stride, during your turn, when your G unit strides on top of this unit, counterblast 1, lock 1 of your rear guards as the cost, and then choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it, then choose one of your vanguards and it gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So yeah, like I said, this Messiah is not really preferred over Alter Ego Neo Messiah, but it's still there as a backup. We do run 4 of the new grade 2 for Messiah, Lady Fencer of Mass Transfer. So what this card does is when it's placed on the rearguard circle or when it's unlocked and you have a Messiah Vanguard, this unit gets plus 2k. So this might seem like a not very useful skill, but it actually is very useful because it makes it 11 upon unlocking. So this used to be this the problem with Arrestor Messiah in the old deck, is that sometimes you'd only be able to unlock one unit in your front row, and when you unlocked Arrestor Messiah, it was just 9k because it doesn't count as being placed on rearguard circle when it's unlocked, so it wouldn't get a skill. It wouldn't get its skill to go to 11k. But this card, however, whenever it's unlocked, it just puts itself at 11k, or when it's placed on rearguard, which can help during early rush turns too. If you go first and your opponent rides a PG or any kind of 6k grade 1, if you play this on the rearguard during your grade 2 turn, you will have a Messiah Vanguard because all your grade 2s, except for this, if you ride this and call another one, you won't get the 2k, but if you ride any of your other grade 2s and then you call it, it'll be 11k. So that really helps out when you're fighting a 6k Vanguard. Your opponent has to guard you for 10k instead of 5 for just you playing one card on the board. The Generation Break 1 ability of it is when this unit attacks, if you have a Messiah Vanguard, counterblast 1, and then if you do Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets plus 5,000 power until the end of the battle, and at the end of that battle, lock this unit. So it's kind of like Arrestor Messiah, except it just gets big. Instead of locking one of your opponent's units, it locks itself, which is good because they seem to have made the new Messiah deck a lot more like crucial on doing your own stuff within your own field and not depending on what your opponent's board is. So I really like that they did that, and it allows you to do your own thing with your own deck against any other deck, rather than like relying on what you're playing against, relying on them to have a board for you to lock cards, yada yada yada. We do run for a Metal Layer Messiah. This is the new grade 2 also from the trial deck. I think in English it's called Natalia Messiah, but this unit has 2 abilities. This unit is like an absolute like staple in my opinion at 4, because it's just very 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 good. It can end games by itself, or not by itself, but like it's powerful enough to with the combination of your other cards just in the game very early. So it has a continuous skill that says this card cannot be locked by card effects. So this card cannot be locked by any skill that says lock. However, to my knowledge, it can still be locked by costs. So like the PG in the drop zone has a cost to lock a rearguard, and Alter Ego Messiah has a cost to lock a rearguard. So you can lock them with these, I've heard, but you cannot lock them with like Alter Ego Messiah because that's not a cost, that's an effect. You cannot lock it with any of your strides because those are not costs, that's an effect. So yeah, this card cannot be locked by card effects. That's number 1. Generation Break 1 is when a card is locked or unlocked, this unit gets plus 3,000 power. So this unit can get very big very fast because a lot of your skills will lock your own cards or lock your opponent's cards and unlock your own cards. So a lot of times a unlock is happening at the same time as an unlock, so every time that happens this unit will get 6k power. That's huge. Like after this happens only 4 times, this unit is 21k by itself. So unlocks and locks happen a lot more than that during your turn, so you can imagine just how big it gets. Moving on to our last 2 grade 2s, or our last 2 of grade 2s. We have 2 Arrestor Messiah. What Arrestor Messiah does is it is the old Messiah card that we used to run at 4. It's kind of lost its place at 4, in my opinion, just because it's not as useful as the other grade 2s. It might even get taken out for more Awakens. I just have to playtest a little more. I just kind of like made this build on the fly and it happened to work out, so I kept it. And so 2 Arrestor Messiah, when this unit is placed on the rearguard circle, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Messiah in its name until the end of the turn, this unit gets plus 2,000 power, and an auto ability that says at the end of the battle if this unit attacked a Vanguard, you can lock this unit and choose either player's rearguard in the back row and lock it. So like I said, it kind of like, it doesn't really depend on your opponent having stuff because you can lock your own back row too, but I would just prefer to use Lady Fencer because she just locks herself and she gets power. Like if your opponent hits a trigger, it doesn't matter, like Lady Fencer can still hit you by herself. And yeah, Arrestor Messiah just seems really weak in comparison to these 2. So then we run 2 Awakening Messiah for literally one reason and one reason only. After I use my starter in this deck, I like doing a combo where I place Awakening Messiah behind the Vanguard because my Vanguard's usually big enough. Sorry guys, I forgot that my mic automatically turns itself off if there's nothing going on. But yeah, so basically, I like doing Awakening Messiah for one combo only. When you place it behind your Vanguard, if you lock it behind your Vanguard, which you can pretty much do every turn if you're on Neo Messiah, when you go to use your unlock abilities, you can just stand Natalia Messiah, which is very, very strong. And I'll show you guys that in the games. But yeah, that's why we run 2 of these. So we run 4 Destiny Dealer. This is our Stride fodder for Messiah. Like, self-explanatory. This is a Stride deck you want to Stride. Also, if you have either Grade 3 Messiah in your hand, you can search the other one if you want it. For our PG, we run the new PG Prayer Child of Steady State Cosmo. This is a Messiah PG, so it's a Sentinel, which means you cannot run more than 4 Sentinels in your deck. You guys know the deal. Its second ability is when it's placed on guard circle from hand, you can choose one of your Messiah units and it cannot be hit until the end of the battle. So basically you can PG any unit as long as it has Messiah in the name. So sometimes people will go for attacking Natalia because they really want it gone with like their Vanguard or something. You can PG that all the same. And then its drop zone ability is really good as well. Bind this card face up from the drop zone and choose 2 of your rear guards and lock them and draw a card. This unit has gotten me out of like more than a couple of crappy situations just by using the ability when I had nothing else to do, and drawing that one last crucial card could complete my combo sometimes. Also, it's good for when you're about to go into Harmonics Messiah, etc. So we run 4 Sacrifice Messiah. This has always been a staple in Messiah. It's just way too good in my opinion. When another rearguard is locked, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Messiah in its name, you can lock this unit, countercharge 1, choose one of your other units, and it gets 3k power. So this all goes back again to Natalia Messiah. Whenever Sacrifice locks itself and gives 3k, you can essentially give 6k to Natalia even though only one unit was locked, because this unit Sacrifice gives 3k. So you can just give 3k to Natalia and then Natalia will get 3k from its own skill. So we run 2 Dunamis Messiah. What Dunamis Messiah does is at the end of the battle that this unit boosted, you can Soul Blast 1, and then if you do, choose up to 1 locked card, unlock it, and then lock this unit, and then choose one of your units and it gets plus 4,000 power. So we run Dunamis as like kind of like a loop with a mini loop with Lady Fencer of Mass Transfer. You can attack with Lady Fencer of Mass Transfer boosted by Dunamis, and then at the end of the battle, Lady Fencer will lock itself. Then after that, you can choose to use Dunamis and Soul Blast 1. You can unlock the Lady Fencer, which means that it will unlock and stand and it can attack again. And then you can lock Dunamis and give 4k to like a Natalia on the other side or something. So we still run Neo Messiah or Neon Messiah as our starter in this deck. I really don't like the new starter because it's literally a thing that I'll only use during the end phase, and if I'm going to use something during the end phase, I'd rather search a Stride fodder. So that's why we use Neon Messiah instead of like the newer one that draws you a card and gives 5k to a unit. That's not really like super helpful in my opinion, so I'd rather just use Neon Messiah. What Neon Messiah does is when this unit's unlocked, you can put into your soul and search your deck for 1 grade 3 with Messiah in its name, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So very useful. For our triggers, we do run 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. We run 4 Blink Messiah. This is the Messiah crit that shoves itself to soul upon Vanguard attack. You draw a card and your Vanguard gets 5k. It can be useful for building your soul, but this deck's pretty good about building soul thanks to the Lady Fencer of Mass Transfer, so it's kind of just whatever whenever you need to use it to get more cards. We do run 4 Starvader Paradigm Shift Dragon. You can't use the skill because it's not a Starvader deck, but you can put this unit back to your deck and shuffle because of how act skills work. So this is pretty much just for being able to put back triggers into our deck. Messiah can deck out quite quickly within a few turns because they draw a lot of cards and they soul charge a lot of cards, especially in this new build. So it's very useful to have these for those turns where you want to make like a final turn stand and put units back to your deck. Then we have 4 Super String Theory Beloved Girl. This is basically our draw trigger. It's a Marvel clone, which means it can shove itself to the soul on your rearguard circle and choose one of your units, and it gets plus 3,000 power. So it can be pretty decent sometimes if you need soul, but like I said, this deck builds soul pretty much by itself, but it's only useful in this deck being a draw trigger, and then the times where you need it to use the skill, you can. We run 4 Karina in this deck. This is our heal trigger from the Fighter's Collection. Basically just says when this card is discarded from your hand for a cost to call Lacus Karina, which is the G-Guard, from your G-Zone. If the number of face-up cards in your damage zone is 1 or less, then you can Soul Blast 1 and Countercharge 1. This works out pretty well with our deck, especially if we're at 4 damage on our defensive turn, or 4 or 3 damage, because if we decide to use Lacus Karina at any time, we can just make sure that we're still at 4 damage unlocked. So yeah, I'll show you guys what I mean by that later. We run 2 Genesis Dragon Harmonix Neo Messiah. This is the newest stride for Messiahs, or the newest, most powerful stride. They got 2 new strides in the set. The skill is Generation Break 3. When this unit attacks, if your heart card is Messiah, you can flip a G unit from your G-Zone face up. If you do, you unlock all cards on your side and your opponent's side, and then you choose all your units that were unlocked until the end of the turn. They get plus 5,000 power, and this unit gets plus 5,000 power for each card that was unlocked. If 5 or more cards were unlocked until the end of the battle, your opponent cannot guard with grade 1 or greater cards from their hand. So basically, this card is very, very good as a finisher. I pretty much only ever use it as a finisher when they're at 5 damage, so that they can't just no guard it and I won't check the crit and they won't lose. Because you have to be careful when you use this card, because I've had opponents use this card against me before and it unlocks the whole board, and then they just give me a chance to do something if I survive their turn. So you really want to do it when you're ready to kill them and no time else, in my opinion. But it can get very powerful. Like, the regular numbers for it are like 56, 61k, depending on how many cards you unlock, like 5 or 6, and then your opponent can't PG it, so your opponent has to guard with the actual cards, so they have to like 1 to pass you, 2 to pass you, 3 to pass you, or no to pass you by throwing down a bunch of cards from their hand or G-Guardian. So it's very useful. We run 2 just in case the first one doesn't finish them off and we survive in between the first and the second one. Then for our next card in the G-Zone, we run 4 Genesis Dragon Basaltis Messiah. This is another one of our new strides from this set. When your unit attacks, if your heart card is Messiah, you can counterblast 1 and flip the same card in your G-Zone face up. And then if you do, you choose a rearguard and a locked card from each player's choose a rearguard and a locked card each from each player's basically choose a rearguard and a locked card any side for each card face up in the G-Zone, and you may unlock them or lock them. And then if 1 or more cards were unlocked, you draw a card. So basically, the easiest way to understand this card is for however many cards are face up in your G-Zone, you can choose a rearguard and a rearguard that's unlocked and a rearguard that is locked, and then unlock them or lock them. You do not have to choose the maximum amount. So, for example, if your opponent has 3 units on their board that are unlocked and you have 5 units that are locked on your board, you can attack with this card and unlock 5 if you have 5 cards face up in your G-Zone, and then you can just choose to lock your opponent's 3. And if they already have 1 locked, you don't have to unlock that one. So this just pretty much locks your opponent's whole board, like, once you get into the later stages of the game. It's very, very good, especially as first stride. Like, draws you a lot of cards in combination with Neo Messiah's GB2. Then we run 2 Genesis Dragon Excelix Messiah and 3 Amnesty Messiah, because these work off of each other. I kind of wanted to just like run 4 Transal's Messiah in this deck, because I kind of found out that like Excelix and Amnesty are like they work sometimes they don't work as well. But it really depends on what your board is. If you have a full board, like Transal's works better, but if you don't have a full board and you don't have your preferred field, then Excelix and Amnesty work better. So what Excelix does is when it attacks the Vanguard, if you have a face-up card with Amnesty Messiah in your G-Zone already, you can pay the cost to counterblast 1 and flip an Amnesty. So basically you have to use Amnesty, or you have to flip Amnesty before you even use Excelix once. So the reason why we run this is because we have one amnesty here, and then the other 2 have to be flipped for accelerates. So just keep that in mind. And then if you do choose any number of locked cards and unlock them, all your units unlocked with this effect get plus 3,000 power, and then you retire all your opponent's units unlocked with this effect. Depending on what's on their field, like, you might choose to unlock or not unlock. If they are a deck that can unlock their cards naturally, I would just kill their rear guards just because they're gonna unlock them anyways, so it's like you might as well kill them. And then if the number of units unlocked with this effect is 3 or more, it gets +1 critical. So typical Messiah thing where if they unlock 3 or more, like, they get criticals. Like, these are like the old strides. All of them do that pretty much. And then Amnesty Messiah is when this unit attacks the Vanguard, counter boss 1. If you do choose any number of lock units, unlock them, this unit gets 3,000 power for each unit unlocked. And then if the number of units unlocked is 3 or more, this unit gets a critical. So it gets really big for unlocking rear guards, and then it gets a critical if you unlock 3 or more. Pretty standard. For our G guards, we run 5 G guards. A lot of you may be like, no Sabreeze, and I don't really like Sabreeze in this deck just because it doesn't interact with Alter Ego Neo Messiah. It's kind of just like, man, like, if your opponent is like, you depend on your strides very heavily for your skills and stuff like that. So if I am against, so I'll give you guys 2 examples. Like, if I'm against some grade 2 rush deck that never rides up to grade 3, then I feel like I'm just gonna fight them normally or lose anyways, because if I Sabreeze them, there's only a few of my skills that go live without me relying on my stride skill and doing all my powerful stuff. So I don't really like Sabreeze in this deck. And then also, if my opponent is just gonna like try to like grade lock or grade lock themselves so that they can stride first, that's absolutely fine with me, because they're going to be playing rear guards down to their field, and those are going to be rear guards for me to lock, unless they're going to kill me literally first stride, which is not very likely a lot of the time, as long as you guard properly. So Lacus Karina is one of our 5 G Guardians. We run, or sorry, I should say 2 out of our 5, because we run 2 of them. It is our G Flip Guardian from the Fires collection. When it's placed on the guard circle, you counter boss 1 and flip a G Guardian face up in your G zone. And then if you do, you can choose 3 of your rear guards, lock them, and then your opponent chooses a unit in their back row for each card that was locked and locks it. So be aware that this card cannot get around resist. I know that that was a recent thing that people like lost their minds over, even though it made sense that this card doesn't get over resist at all. And then also keep in mind that whenever you lock a unit, you can, during your turn, you can use Sacrifice Messiah. So if you choose to lock like your front row, and one of your back row to lock 3 of their back rows, and then you have 2 Sacrifice Messiah left, you can lock the Sacrifice Messiah, lock both of them, counter charge 2, and then give 6k to your Vanguard. So it can be very helpful. Like, you can make this card bigger than what it is. Like, you can essentially make it a 32k shield if you have 2 Sacrifice Messiahs on the board. Or if you have 3 and you just lock 2, and then you lock 3 Sacrifice Messiah shield, you can give your Vanguard 9k. So it's pretty good. The reason why we run 2 Demon Maxwell over Lady Healer is because Lady Healer is 36 by herself, but Demon Maxwell, depending on what my board is, can be bigger. I like Demon Maxwell in the Messiah deck a little better, just because when I lock a back row unit, if I have 2 Sacrifice Messiahs, I can give 6k and countercharge 2, and give 6k to my Vanguard for the rest of the turn. That's really useful against some of these decks that like multi-attack for like a lot of small attacks, like I don't know, Aqua Force, like all those things. It just really helps. But Lady Healer is a big guard, but only for that battle. So it's like, if you don't have like a lot of guard resources after that battle, you're kind of screwed. So when this unit is placed on guard circle, if there's a locked card, you can soul blast 1. That's another thing, is it relies on there already being a locked card on the board when you G-guard with this. So if you can't, for some reason, can't lock your opponent's units, or one of your own units is not already locked, then it won't get its full like power shielding ability. But it gets 5,000 shield for just having Messiah Vanguard, and then it gets 5,000 shield if there's a locked card. So it can become 36 max. Not a bad card, but not the best card in my opinion. I think just Demon Maxwell's better in my opinion. So we're opening back up our card fight area here for the games. Alright. So, loading up Messiah 1. So this first game, I literally have no idea what we're playing against. When I was playing against them, I was like, is this a Grand Blue Grade 1 Rush deck? Like, I didn't really understand. He had a draw trigger, and then I took the other damage too. We rode Metalia and attacked. He won to past us. We checked a critical trigger, putting it all to our Vanguard. He takes 2 damage. One's a heal and one's a bastard. So I attack his rear guard. He rides to grade 2, then plays down a PG and a 0 to attack me. I really didn't think I was going to lose. So I just kind of played naturally like I would against any other deck. Then I didn't have a grade 3, which is what sucks right here. So he won to pass my Vanguard. I didn't check the trigger, but then I attack 9 to his Vanguard and he takes it. Then he rides Night Mist, and then plays down his other grade 3, and then literally uses his draw trigger skill to shove to the soul and give 3k to his PG, and then he just moved it back and called a grade 3. So I'm like, okay, you're literally about to lose if I G-assist and get a grade 3. But then I no-guarded his Vanguard and he double crit me. So instead of surviving, I just died. I kind of thought that I would heal right here out of like 3 damage. But I didn't heal and he just won. And that's kind of like a straight up example of like how Vanguard just works out sometimes. Like your opponent can be playing literally a deck that is straight garbage and you might lose sometimes because you don't get like a grade 3 and you get sacked or something. But yeah, as usual, like whether it's a win or a loss, I just always show the games. So that was game 1, and then loading up Messiah game 2 and 3. These are a little better. We're playing against Gold Paladin in game 2. Our opponents were just running straight Gurglet without the unlocked card. As we found out going into this, like as I was playing him, I was thinking, okay, I wonder if he's running the unlocked card, because if he is, like we'll have to fight him harder. But then when he rides and strides, I think I saw him ride the new Gurglet and then stride with the old Gurglet. So that's what confirmed to me that he wasn't really running it. And then I was like, oh cool, we can lock his units and they stay locked. So he strides into new Gurglet, counter blast 1, soul blast 1 for the on stride skill, calls a Blaster Blade Spirit to the field, which was interesting. I did not expect that. And then he blows up my Lady Fencer, which I was kind of sad about, but I have one in my hand, so it's whatever. I no-guard his quad drive Gurglet, which I was kind of scared about because literally every time in real life I've ever like seen a quad drive Gurglet, they always like sack a lot of triggers on the first turn. It's kind of like Gancelot. Like I just have bad luck when it comes to facing Gancelot and Gurglet. But I do survive his turn. I go into Basaltis. I play 1 card on my field, lock 1, and then I attack for 23 to his Vanguard using my grade 2 skill. He guards with 2 cards. I use the skill to lock itself, then I use Dunamis to unlock it like I was discussing, and then freaking Metalia gets all that power, so you guys see it's 31 already. I attack for 16, he guards with 10, Metalia gets 3 more K, then I attack with Basaltis, I unlock my 11k again, lock one of his units, I draw a card, and then he G-guards this one for Slay Me Flare, and then he puts 1 unit back, gets up to 2 cards from the top 5, and then he shuffles them back. We check 3 cards, and we check a draw trigger. So I decided to give the draw trigger to my bigger guy, and then I attack for 16. He takes it, it locks itself, giving 3k more to my other grade 2 rear guard, and it ends up being 42. And then we end up soul blasting 1 to draw 2 using the GB3. So as you guys can see, like just during that first turn alone, like Metalia reached 42k by itself. So it can get quite ridiculous if you have the right amount of cards in your hand. But he goes into new Gurglet Helios again, and then he gets Famgol off of it, and Famgol skills to check the top 3 and call a card. So he gets another Blaster Blade Spirit. Which I was really surprised that he didn't blow up Metalia Messiah, because that would have made me more upset than him getting Lady Fencer, but I guess he didn't want Lady Fencer to attack him multiple times, which is kind of understandable in combination with Dunamis. So like when you have this field set up, it's kind of like a multi-threat for your opponent. Unless they can blow up multiple cards, like they really have to pick and choose what they blow up, because you could just have another copy of it in your hand, because your hand tends to be pretty big in its deck. So I was thinking with this field that I have, because he attacked me for 41, and I can't guard with grade 1s or higher, so I was thinking about all my G-Guard options. I ended up going with Lacus Karina, counter plus 1, and flip the Messiah thing so that I can lock 2 of his, making his power go down to 31. And then I Soul Blasted to counter charge 1 as per the heals ability, so we're still at 2 unlocked out of 5 damage. Gurgwit goes down to 41, and then we guard for 26, 36, 46 as a 3 to pass. He checks the new Gurgwit, the Gurgwit Stride Fodder, a crit trigger, and a draw trigger. So he does not get the 3 to pass. He stacks it on his rear guard, and then we guard with a 10k. We go into Basaltus Messiah again. We use Neo Messiah to call the Awakening Messiah to the field and lock it, and then lock one of his units. Again, our grade 2 gets plus 6k. So then we play our other grade 2. So we attack 11 to his Vanguard. He intercepts because he doesn't want that to get locked. Then we lock his back row, and then our other grade 2 gets 6k again because 2 units were locked. So it attacks for 21 by itself. And our opponent is deciding if they want to guard this. They end up guarding with a 10 and a 5, which was a smart decision. We attack with Basaltus Messiah, flip, we unlock all of ours, and then lock 2 of his. So basically, Metalia gets super big because we unlocked 4 and locked 2, so it gets plus 18 just off the bat. And then it's able to restand because of Awakening Messiah behind our Vanguard unlocking, so that's one of my favorite things about it. So we added the crit trigger that we checked to our bigger side, and then we just used Dunamis to lock to give it even more power, and then we make it 59 with 2 crit to his Vanguard, and he just can't guard that. But however, he does 6 damage heal, so I was like, wow. And then I ended turn, Soul Blasted 2 to draw 2, and then he strides. He put Psy in the chat, so I'm guessing he wasn't too happy to survive anyways. Like, usually when your opponent does survive, like, they're not too happy about it anyways, but he does stride into Holy Sword of Heavenly Law Gurgwit, and then he just quits because he says, I don't have any soul to use my stride skill. So literally, in order to make this card active, he would have to play one of those cards in his hand to that rear guard circle, and then play one of the cards over it, and then it would get 10k, but he wouldn't even be able to use the skill because he would have to play 2 to be Unite, and then he has to discard 1 for Heavenly Law skill. So he just decided to quit and give it up. Like, that was a situation where I actually believe in quitting, because he knew that I had a PG and at least a lot of other guard to guard the other attack. So he knows that he had no possibility of winning. His other rear guard circles were locked, but that's why most Gurgwit decks run the backup grade 3, that is the Unlocker. Because when you fight Link Joker, it can be quite a bad time for you if you don't have that card. So we're going to Messiah Game 3 here. For Messiah Game 3, we played against Genesis. We end up attacking him for 12 for the first ride. He rides and then calls, uses Revelation to put that card that you checked back on top. It is a stand trigger, so he stands his rear guard and then attacks me. I check the heal trigger, and then a Metalia, which I was kind of sad about because I wanted that. We attack him, we ride an attack, and we crit him. So he decides to stay on grade 2, which is like a situation where I would have Sabreezed him here, but I just don't run Sabreeze, so I was fine with it. Like, he wants to stay on grade 2 and be 4 damage for my powerful strides. Like, he can basically do what he wants. But he goes into tier for his first stride. I'm only at 3 damage, so I'm not really scared unless he double crits me somehow. He attacks me with his Vanguard. I no guard. He does check that first critical, so I'm kind of scared, and then he does heal, and then he checks a Sousa. So then he soul charges 3 as per tier skill. So he attacks for 25, uses the skill, I G-guard, and then I have to guard with 3 cards, which was kind of crappy. So not only did we have to ride not Alter Ego Messiah, but we had to discard. So luckily we top decked Stride Fodder, because I was going to have to discard 2 cards of Stride. So we're able to use the skill, unlock and lock, and then we use our starter skill to get our grade 3 that we want. We check a critical, we give it to one side, we check a PG. That's what we really needed to check, because that's what ensures us that we live when we lock both of our opponent's front rows. So we attack for 15, we attack for 15, he guards for 5, and then we attack with the other column with a crit, and he G-Guardians it. So he goes into Vanguard for his stride here, which I knew he was going to go into. It's pretty much the only Genesis Vanguard that doesn't rely on rear guards, so it's smart to go into that when you get both your front rows locked. So he soul charges, uses Gelja, and then he goes into battle phase, attacks with Vanguard, Soul Blast 6, and then flip 1 face up. He uses the stride skill to call a Dreaming Dragon. I don't know specifically why he called it right there. He should have called it over Van, in my opinion, especially because he gave power to his back row. But then he used Claimer Harry to return 1. So we PG. He checks a PG, a 2, and then a crit trigger. Then he uses Dreaming Dragon skill to return everything, and then a shuffle. So we're able to re-ride Neo Messiah and Stride. We go into Basaltus again, using no Stride skill because there's nothing in our hand useful that we can play down and unlock. But we use Basaltus skill to lock 3 of his cards, and our rear guards get plus 9k from their own abilities. So we check a draw trigger and a crit trigger. We give the crit to Vanguard power to rear guard. He checks a heal that does not go off, and then he checks a Stride Fodder. So we attack for 18 and 28. He does G-guard that one too. So he strides. This time we don't have a PG, so we're kind of scared. But we know that all we have to do is no pass whatever he strides into. So he decides to stride into Fenrir, Mythical Beast Fenrir, whatever that card is called. So he decided to call cards. He's trying to use Revelation to thin out of his deck. I kind of see what he's doing, but I don't know if that's the route I would have taken over just going into a second Vanguard to go in hand and make sure that he checks what he needs to survive against me. Because I have to no pass him if he goes into Vanguard, but I guess if he does it this way, I still have to no pass him, which I did. I threw down so many cards just to no pass him. He checks a crit, and a heal. I was kind of sad that he checked the heal as part of his 3 check, but to be expected, I guess, when he puts back all his cards every turn, and then he thins out with Revelation, or specifically the Stride Fenrir Revelation, because it changes the Revelation skill. So since he healed down, I didn't go into Harmonics. I was planning on going into Harmonics here. I did use the Stride skill to play 1 and lock 1 of his cards, and then I locked the rest of my cards as well with the PG, and then I attacked unlocking, and then my grade 2s are getting super big because of all the unlocking and locking going on. So he PGs my Vanguard, and then I get a draw trigger, giving power and drawing a heal trigger, which is pretty tight in this scenario. Then I attack for 45 to his rear guard because I wanted that thing gone. If I was going to leave something unlocked, I did not want it to be a critical Naha. That's basically begging for death in that deck. I know because I played that deck. That unit can get super big for no reason. So he plays the grade 3 version of it from his hand, but at least it didn't get power from the Stride skill, so it's better than it would have been if I would have let him do it the other way. And then he plays a crit from his hand. Thank goodness he didn't have any other effects to make that card bigger. So he attacks for 19, I do G-Guard, and I use Lacus Brina to lock all my back row, and then I Soul Blast and unlock my Grade 2 skip power, and then he attacks with Vanguard. So then he Soul Blast 6. One of the cards that he Soul Blast was a Taro, so we do PG him. And then we check a heal trigger, he gives the power to his rear guard, and then he checks 2 grade 3s beyond that. So next turn I'm like, okay, this is the turn to kill him, we only have like a couple cards left in our deck. So we decided to stride with 2 cards, just straight go into Harmonix Messiah to try to end this game out. We do use the stride skill to make him lock his grade 2 so that he can't use it as extra guard. And he has used 3 of his G-Guardians already, so we're kind of just betting. I mean, we know that he has heals, but we're kind of betting that he doesn't have the D-Flip Guardian. We attack with Harmonix into Vanguard. He gets 56k. So he G-Guards it. He doesn't have another G-Guard past this, so we're pretty safe. I know that I have 4 triggers left in my deck. Like one's a crit, or sorry, 3 are crits, and one's a heal, should be. So when I go to check my triggers, I check the critical trigger, give it to one side, check the other critical trigger, give it to the other side, and check a heal trigger, giving it to one side as well. So I attack him with 36 with the crit with one side, and then I attack him with 41 with the crit to the other side, and he takes 2 damage and loses. So I think that was very well played. He just left without saying anything. So his name is also I'm a Terrorist. But yeah, that was basically our games for the Messiah FutureFight. I hope you guys enjoyed the FutureFight video. If you did, leave a like. It matters a lot more than you guys think. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And also down below in the description, you can check out our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Patreon. If you decide to support us on Patreon, thank you so much. And with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.